Hello everybody. Today we're going to work on the recruiting dialogue in the castle. So when you start out in the game, you can build structures, you can recruit some amount, put your troops in the army. I don't know why I buy peasants, they're pretty much worthless. And anyway, these these creatures, you have to recruit them from this dialogue in the castle. And I wanted to figure this out, make sure we're growing the creatures. There's lots of little elements to work on here. There's also the ability to split creatures between the garrison, and I want to check one more thing before we really get started here. Let's see. Okay, we have enough wood, I think, to build the jousting arena. So, in this case, we get the there is no room for a garrison in this army if our garrison's full. So, that's like the edge case of the recruiting setup. So we've been able to buy up to this many creatures, and of course, if we open that up, but the castle needs to check if the garrison is full before allowing recruiting. And but that is what we're going to try and build today. So let me change out of this, and so I started in Claude by showing a few images. So I showed the recruit screen. I showed the tooltip of the recruit screen. So this is like right-clicking on a structure. Yes, right-clicking on a structure brings this up. Left-clicking brings this up, and you can, increment, decrement, hit the max button, OK, cancel. You see how much the troops cost. These are the backgrounds that are used, recruit and recruit.png. I guess they're BMP files technically. Those are inside the AGG. And then there's no room for a garrison in this army. I took a picture of that dialog box to show the AI what to use. Now most of these elements here are included in townwind.icn. So we have things like this cost per troop box. We have this counter box, the increment, decrement buttons, the max button. This is for the build screen actually, and I don't recall what the flags are for in there. This is the border around the level up screen. And then it's interesting because this recruit button is here, but it was actually like not used in the game. So that's just kind of an interesting, I don't know if you'd consider that an Easter egg. And of course, there's also the spellbook scrolls. So what you would find in the Mage Guild, there's these spell scrolls, and that's also in Townwind, just as an aside. So I compiled a list of the creature stats. This is a kind of a not great looking CSV. Let me see if I can pull that up in an Excel file here that's a little more readable. Let's see, which one was that? HOMM creature stats. How about this? There we go. So the growth value here is the growth with the well. So this is like this value -2 is the growth. And I know ghosts can't be recruited and genies don't grow in the lamps, but I may actually look up what the nomads and rogues, how much they grow in their recruiting structures. It's probably like 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 per week or something like that. Um, but this is, this is the troop name, the faction, but then the attack, defense, shots, damage, hit points, speed, and cost. Now there's also a tooltip when you when you're in the hero screen or the castle screen and you right click on a creature, or in the battle screen too. I think you can right click on the creature and you get a lot of this information. So I compiled this, I'm planning to do that at some point in the near future. And so I compiled this data as well for that. But right now I'm just using it for the cost. Just using it for the cost. So where are we here? Anyway, I uploaded that information. I also uploaded this HOMM structures, which included, I believe that was the offsets. Let's see if I can find this one. HOMM structures, structure offsets. So this basically includes, yeah, all of the different offsets here of what structure you have, which ICN file it is, which faction it is. But then the most important information here is these X and Y offsets, because we're going to be clicking on the castle at these pixel offsets, and we're going to be using that to to bring up this recruit screen. So we have to know what those locations are. And I will point out there's some weird stuff here, like so this is width and height. So some of these are abnormally large, like the Sorceress's archery range is huge, and the fenced meadow also huge. So I actually am going to probably have to adjust these hitboxes, and it's kind of strange. Like I actually want to pull up the some of these structures here with, let's see, that's in AGG files, and heroes, and let's go to forest. Let's see if I can just pull this up over here. So we're going to the forest screen, and the archery range is 2. So if you look at this, this is the actual archery range, but it's very, very wide because there's this tiny little red speck over here that makes this a super, super wide. And I'm not really sure what this is, if this is something that's behind the red tower or something that goes something that goes on the castle. But this is like a this little red dot appears on the other side when you build the archery range. This is like loaded up on the other side of the screen. So that's like a weird thing. But also if we go to the unicorn, there's a similar effect here. There's also this red dot here. So this might be just an alignment thing. I kind of want to look at it more specifically in the context of the Sorceress, but that's just a weird quirk of the sprites. Most of the other, I guess the the pyramid is kind of big, the adobe's kind of big, like stick hut's kind of like, it's hard to say, but I'm planning to have to adjust some of these click boxes for the structures. I give it the spec for town wind, which just includes again the XY offsets, and then I dump in a lot of my code that's relevant. I give it my usual. I'm rebuilding the game engine for Heroes of Might and Magic. I want to add this recruit creature dialog box that triggers when a player clicks on the creature structure sprite in the castle screen. The hitbox for the sprite should be the size of the sprite, which isn't exactly true because of, like the issue I just mentioned with the archery range. But anyway, we're going to start with that and see how that works. So when the player right clicks on the sprite hitbox of the creature structure, a tooltip box with this background recruit to BMP, this thing up here, this smaller box versus the larger box, that is shown, and it shows recruit creature. Then below that, the full-size sprite of the creature loaded from monsters.icn, which I can show you again here. Monsters. So these are just the images that are displayed for that, and then it shows how many are available, and then the quantity of that creature type that's available for purchase, and the cost per troop display that uses that town wind ICN. So basically, like, this box here is the townwind.icn3 icon or image. But I keep calling it icon because of this ICN. For the most part, creatures will just be gold with the cost below it, but for Cyclops, 750 gold plus 1 crystal. Phoenix is 15 plus a mercury, and a dragon will be 3,000 plus a sulfur. And I actually added in a little later, the genie is 650 gold plus 1 gem, because I'm going to use this same recruit screen, I believe, in the overworld dialogue when I'm recruiting nomads or rogues or genies from the lamp. So it occurred to me, like, oh, I should actually add in that cost as well. But I didn't do that in this initial prompt, but like later on it occurred to me. And so I'm highlighting those are the only ones that require resources, those plus the genie. And then I've added this HOMM creature stats CSV that includes the cost and the dwelling level for each creature. When the player clicks on the sprite hitbox of a certain of a creature structure, if that structure is built, we don't want it to work if the structure isn't built. The recruit creature dialog opens. It allows them to purchase creatures, displays the creature image, how many are available, cost per troop, some calculation box with an OK and cancel. This allows a player to left click on the structure, specify the number of creatures to purchase those creatures, and then have the creatures appear in the garrison for the castle if there is space available. If there's no space available, okay, I didn't finish that. So I guess that's a typo. Yeah, I say that we use, so the actual recruit creature box uses the larger one, which is recruit PNG that I showed earlier. And then it shows recruit creature name. And basically I just explain what the different pieces are here. It's a picture's 1,000 words. And so I'm verbalizing to the AI what I want it to look like. But, and then for most creatures, it will just be gold, but for Cyclops, it'll be this, Phoenix and Dragon. And then there's this calculator, a number to buy. And then that is an X offset of 6 pixels, then the quantity box. And so I give it a bunch of offsets and I describe in very specific terms. We have this increment and decrement buttons to adjust the quantity, and which version is the live button, which version is the depressed version of the button. When you click it, it animates that little pressing of the button. They're located to the right of the quantity box. And then there's a max button next to that. And then below this is about a 9 Y pixel offset. There's a total resource cost. And then below that, a 3 pixel Y offset is the gold display or possibly other resources if you're buying Dragons, Phoenix, or Cyclops. And I love that the plural for Cyclops in English is cyclopes. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but I think it's cyclopes. Probably cyclopes. That sounds a little better, but we could look it up, I suppose. We also have the quantity of the resource needed to buy a creature multiplied by the number of creatures specified in the quantity box. So just doing basic math to make sure the quantity is correct. But I still need to specify that out so that the AI will get it right when it does this. Below this, another Y offset of 5 pixels are the OK and cancel buttons. Cancel just closes the dialog box. If the garrison is full and all 5 slots have creatures, the purchase fails and the event message box, this no room PNG up here, which I displayed, this is going to display. So that's shown. There's no room for the garrison in the army. If the garrison's not full, there's an available creature slot. OK will transact the purchase and the number of creatures specified in the box. The logic behind this should decrement the number of creatures from the creatures available for the purchase in the castle, decrement the resources required to purchase those creatures from the kingdom treasury. And I guess decrement isn't the right word because that implies -1, but like deduct. Deduct is maybe the better word than decrement. Oops. And should add that quantity of creatures to the garrison of the castle, and exit the dialog box and return to the default castle screen. I want this to be done for each creature dwelling for each castle. Heroes of Might and Magic Structures has the XY offsets and sizes for each structure in each faction. Let's add the recruit and recruit.to background sprites to load in resources.cpp because creatures can be recruited from nomad tents and rogue encampments and genie lamps, not just in the castle screen. So my resources.cpp is like my general purpose loading file that loads all the different sprites, and I guess some of the audio happens, although mostly that's happening in sound.h. But anyway, finally, I think that these dialog boxes function similarly to the boxes of events, but they will have a different background and format with extra images and a calculation that has to refresh whenever the user clicks on the increment decrement buttons. Event actions will probably handle the logic for purchasing the creatures, removing them from the inventory and populating the garrison with the purchased creatures. So event actions is like a background, that's like the code logic that processes events. Like when you pick up a treasure chest, you know, there's a display thing that's my events code, but then I have event actions, which is when you actually click on an action, that event actions handles that and will either give you the experience or give you the gold and cause the treasure chest icon to basically deregister from the map. And so anyway, I give the AI all this. It does a bunch of processing, adds the dwelling available field to the map castle state, the map H castle state. So making sure that a dwelling is available to recruit, basically. So it comes up with these new files, recruit.h and recruit.cpp. So we have a creature cost, which basically figures out the unit cost of creatures. Recruit resources, which loads the recruit BMP and recruit.to BMP. I mean, this is this references stuff that's later located in. Actually, hold on. That should have been. I think I specified that this should actually be in resources.cpp, and it didn't do that. So that's something we'll have to refactor later. Recruit results is what gets passed on to the results callback. So basically, if you are successfully able to recruit some creatures, then there's a callback that actually processes this. The recruit system has this open tooltip and open dialog, but it's basically an open recruit dialog. If there's no room in the garrison, that's also a dialog that will show up. There's drawing, and then there's the SDL event, which is like mouse clicks and stuff like that. The dwelling sprite hit, so this detects the click boxes for hitting those, like if you're clicking on one of those structures, and then apply the recruit result. Actually, I believe this gets called by the callback. So this, yeah, I guess the technical term is the game state mutation. So it deducts the resources. It should probably say deduct availability and populates the garrison. And so in recruit CPP, we have all the costs of the different creatures. We have the growth table of the creatures from the growth column, which, yeah, that's in there. And then we have this faction creature ID mapping for all factions. And then we're drawing the recruit backgrounds and using the town wind icon frames. And the no room in Garrison uses the existing bybuild.icn border and bybuild. Just in case you haven't seen one of my previous videos, bybuild is basically these pieces of the window here that a lot of the game dialogues use. And then modified a little bit of castle screen to just include the recruit resources and then event actions basically is adding in some of this apply recruit results in case we you know, that'll be useful for when we're recruiting like nomads and rogues and things like that. So it gives me a patch with some things. I mentioned, okay, I already had an existing castle state in there. And I also want to add in my new day CPP and map CPP. So map CPP runs the initial like game state initialization, and new day runs the you know, the day cycling, where it adds resources based on how many mines and castles and things you own, and if it's a new week, it'll populate creature growth. But since I now have structures and I can now recruit them, and I'm now populating these structures with creatures, which is what was it. I had that initialized to 0 already, but the data structure changed. The AI wanted a different data structure, so that's what that was up there, by the way. But anyway, I request that we update the new day CPP and map CPP to make sure they work correctly with population growth and factor in the week of the creature or the month of the creature or the month of the plague. You know, whatever those, well, whatever those values are. And so I have some logic in here that's loading up the creatures. But in new day CPP, it also checks if it's the week of the creature or the month of the creature. But it's missing some of the logic, and it needs to incorporate this growth base rate. And so I then specify, you know, if we have a well, we add 2 creatures to the growth rate of each built structure. If it's the week of that creature, there's a +5 bonus. And if it is the month of the creature, that creature growth doubles. So it's the base rate +2 if the well's built, plus the existing available creatures in that structure that haven't been purchased, and we double that. We multiply that by 2. And if it's the month of the plague, I had said week of the plague. I don't think there's week of the plague in Heroes 1. I think it's just the month of the plague. And I might be wrong about that, but I tested the game a little bit and I could only get month of the plague. So for now, I'm just going with month of the plague. I can fix that later if it turns out to be wrong, but I went with something that was, you know, my best guess right now. And then anyway, we would compute the growth as 0 base rate, 0 bonus from well, and the existing available creatures in that structure, and then multiply that by half. So there's no growth, and we have the existing creatures. So it does some review of this, comes up with a new day function that does some growth, also fixes basically the initial populating of the creatures in map CPP. And then I want to update the logic here. So I ran a few tests for the game, and I'm actually going to pull up my new day logic here and see if, is it in here? Yes. So I also had, so these are the creature names that we can you know, it can be the creature, the month of these creatures. I don't know if it can actually be the month of the neutral creatures. I don't think so. I've never seen that before. If you've ever seen that, please drop that in the comments. I would love to know. And then I went through and did I refreshed and ran just week after week in the game for, you know, a handful of games just to get a list of the neutral creature names where they're not the special faction creature names, just a regular week where you don't get a +5 bonus to a creature. And you know, these were the names: the squirrel, aardvark, eagle, hedgehog, condor, weasel, gopher, hornet, spider, lizard, rat, raven, dog, rabbit, and mongoose. And it's interesting that there were 15. I suspect there might be a 16th one because I feel like they would like to do something like that where they have you know, something ending in 16 bits, but maybe there's only 15. It's possible I just haven't found the 16th one, but anyway, that was one thing I tested, and it was basically about 50% of the time it was one of these regular creature names. About 25% of the time it was one of these, and actually that's not quite true. Every month there was about a 25% chance of plague, a 25% chance of faction creature, and a 50% chance of regular creature name. And then weeks that are not a new month, it was a 25% chance of a creature name and a 75% chance of a regular creature name and 0% chance of plague. So that's what I was guessing the logic is, and this may not be 100% correct, but that's kind of my best guess just on some, you know, spending a few minutes testing and clicking new day an awful lot. So I just did like a quick statistical sampling that's not a sample size over 30, so it would not be considered a normal distribution. So who knows if it's actually close to the real distribution, but it's close enough for now, and we can fix the logic later when we get some real test statistics. So anyway, I got that, and then I started getting a compiler error, which I chased down for a while, which turned out to be, I think there was something with one of the signatures. Okay, I don't remember what it was. It might have been. Well, anyway, I did resolve that compiler error, and it did compile, but it's not capturing the clicks in the castle. And then also the state dump isn't dumping the values of the creatures initialized in the castle. So this was like my first test of that. I did some basic fixes here. I got the clicks were not registering initially. And so now I'm going to show you what the first build was. So this was our first build here. So we could kind of get some creatures recruited, but isn't this weird that we suddenly have negative 120 gold? So this isn't checking if you have enough gold. So we can get minus 600 gold, and then see the click box is funny. Like I'm clicking on the crypt here, and it's bringing up the centaurs. So that's strange. Now this still works. Yeah, it's just a little weird. So that's kind of a quirk. And so I highlighted the creature initialization code is, let's see, this is from my debug. It's not showing the, oh, it is showing what's populated, but it wasn't populating the second creature structure. So I was like, oh, well, maybe that's why it wasn't working. Maybe that's why I'm not able to click on the the gargoyles there because there's no creatures there, so maybe it won't let me do that. I don't know, but the initial state is just D1 is populated, but D2 is built, so why is it not being populated? And then after the castle screen, there needs to be an update to the dwelling availability of the creatures available in the structure. They need to be populated. I've added the event CPP file. So it did something here, and I also added the initialization. I added a map loading for the build records too. And so just to give it some more documentation, and then it figured out the mapping so that the dwelling level 1 is always there. Basically, it's not stored in a bit in the game, at least in the map structure. And so that was its like conclusion, and so it was running through the populating of values based on the bits, and it had an off by 1 error, so it was not processing the population of the dwelling values. I think it says it here. So the slot 0 needs no bit check at all, and okay, it did something like that. Corrected the dump labels. And we added the recruit.h to make sure that it processes these correctly, did the weekly growth, and basically this adds the apply build result to do the weekly growth to see the dwelling available immediately when the new structure is built, so that the player can recruit the same turn they build. And this isn't, the dwelling weekly growth, that sounds a little dangerous, because if the well is built, it would give you an extra +2, and when you build the structure first, it just is the initial value of creatures. So if you build like an archery range in the Sorceress, there's only 4 per week without the well, 6 with the well, so it should only have 4 creatures in it. So I gave it the latest map CPP file. It's still not picking up clicks, so let's make sure that that actually registers. And it lost the population fix. And the new structure is clickable, but not. Let's see, I'm just going to look at my latest build because I'm not sure which of these became. So here I'm not able to increase. This is the bug, I think, of this one, or maybe it's now that I don't have any gold. So maybe that is actually checking something correctly. Let's pick up some gold and then head back here and see if we're able to recruit. Okay, so now we are able to recruit something. And all right, let's go pick up some more gold somewhere. Since we don't have battles implemented yet, we can just go take this. I mean, it is just gold somebody left laying around, you know, what what's the big deal? So this, I guess this build is probably after this next quote, but you'll notice here that suddenly there's 7 wolves available. That's not correct. This is supposed to only be 5. So the newly built structure has this issue where it's overpopulating them. And I think I correct that later, but let's see. So okay, I made some progress there, and I wanted some documentation. And then I started to get the no room in the Garrison dialog bug. Let me see if that was present in the previous build that we just checked. Okay, well, I don't have the moving of creatures available yet, so... And I don't have any gold yet, so let's go get some gold. It can be a little tedious to go around and pick up all the gold to do these tests. And let's see, can I build the nest? Yes. But anyway, I'm actually going to have to collect the sulfur and the gems. That's going to take a while. I'm just going to I'm going to skip proving that out. But basically this is, I was getting a strange dialog box where it wasn't centered. The dialog box wasn't functioning the way I wanted it to. So I gave it the example of by build border. I gave it this code, and I just wanted an inline fix. And it detects the centering issue and this weird purple box, which I've had before. And it then decides it wants to rebuild everything. And I was like, nah, don't do this. Just fix the current function. So it gives me this function. And then on the tooltip, which let me show you what the tooltip looks like on this one. So the tooltip is here. It's not centered exactly perfectly, but see, we don't have any gold, so the gold is not able to buy anything. But we can build the archer range, and then I get an issue here where now I click on other things and see the click box for the archery range is now all over the map, and I'm looking for that little red box here, the little, I don't, maybe it's here in this castle. I don't know. I have to measure it in sprites. But again, you see this this has 6 available, which is not the correct amount. So there's an issue there. But I wanted to move the creature icon in and the cost per troop box in that tooltip box that I showed you earlier. So we adjusted those, and then I wanted to initialize the resources because I got a little tired of having to run around and collect all the resources to like test this and buy creatures and build things. So I wanted to just dump this into map CPP and start initializing with some resources so that I could start with some resources and then do some build tests and recruiting tests and things a lot faster. I also, while I was tinkering around in the initial game state, I decided to add this list of all the castle names, which I reverse engineered by going into, like, I think Empires at War, where you start out with 4 castles and then just recording the names of those 4 castles. I just reloaded it like 20 times and I got a list of 36 titles of castles, 36 names of castles. And so I came up with something for that, and it gave me some suggestions about how to shuffle them correctly. We ended up arguing about how to optimize the shuffling of the names, and I also said, well, let's shuffle the artifact pool for the random artifacts as well. So I did some adjustments there, and then I noticed so I basically wanted to update the artifact pool shuffling to use my latest method. And then actually I ended up copying the artifact shuffle method over to the name shuffle. And I noticed this because also in my this was always Castle Basenji, which was 4th in the list. So that's why I was like, oh, I should probably fix that. So I just went down that rabbit hole and fixed this. And it gave me a couple of other little fixes to create, and anyway, this was working a lot better, but the OK was outside of the box. So I spent a little bit of time working on fixing that. And this was the very basic version of recruiting creatures, working with, let's see, centered, no Garrison. So let's see what the final version looks like here from this. And notice I suddenly have a lot of resources, so now I can start to test much easier. And this also only has 4 available now, so I did correct that. And I think what I did is I just went in and corrected the initial growth rates. And then I tested it, running it for a week. So, but let's just do some builds, build out the castle, because I have a ton of resources now. Except it's hard to click on that because the archery range takes up most of the clickable space here all the way. Over here we get the sprites, but I have to click at the very top of the castle to be able to get there. So that'll be a fix I need to implement manually, is to adjust the hitbox of this archery range here. So let's recruit some druids. And still hitbox up there. Let's build the fenced meadow. And we've got 2, and let's see what happens. Okay, there's no room in the garrison for this army. So that looks okay. That's kind of the current status of this. And then we're on day 4. Let's just run it through a couple of days and see if the growth works. Okay, we're on day 7. We have 2 there. Okay, I basically can't access the dwarves because their hitbox is fully covered. We have 2, and yeah, the hitbox for the fenced meadow covers the druids. So I don't really know how to. So that's a bug that has to be fixed. But I just want to check the growth rates now. So now we're hitting a new week. You'll notice the beautiful phase of moon screen there. It's the week of the Cyclops. Oh, okay. This did not update with the Cyclops growth +5. So that's another bug we need to fix there. And let's see what we have. So we have 8 available. We had 2 available before. We have 6 available. We had 2 available before. So it did process the well correctly. So that did work. Just the Cyclops growth. Well, the Cyclops needs to be Cyclops growth +5. And, you know, I wonder if just the messaging is wrong and it actually did process the logic correctly. But that's something to test a little further down the line. But for now, we got the creature recruit structure working, and that's what I wanted to show you guys.